Also, I just got done watching Gran Turismo, and yeah, I know what you guys are thinking. What is that? Isn't that some unknown movie? You know, it's totally like the trailers aren't engraved into my brain, and I've seen it so many times. But anyways, yeah, I saw this movie and my hopes weren't that high. I was expecting a decent movie. The trailers didn't look too interesting, but I mean, I still went in with kind of an open mind, hoping that it would be better than expected. And let me just tell you guys, it was a lot better than I expected. For one, I think right now it has like a Rotten Tomato on the tomato meter thingy. Yeah, the critics do not pay attention to that at all. I genuinely don't know. Like, the movie's not perfect, but I don't know how you could give it a rotten. There's a lot of good there, and it's not like there's a bunch of plot holes or it doesn't make logistically any sense when it's literally based on a true story. Like, I don't get where the rotten scores come from or the negative scores, but you know what? It's okay. Movies are subjective, but I don't agree with any of the critics on this one. For one, I'm gonna get my negatives out the way because there are quite a few, but they didn't completely like bog down the entire movie. For one, the first half of this movie moves at like a breakneck speed, and that would sound like a good thing considering it's a movie about racing. It's kind of not. It takes away from some emotional elements that they try to land in that first half that just fall really flat. And you're going through these cycles and these events that kind of just feel like boxes that are being checkmarked very quickly. And we're jumping from one place to the next, to another, to one race to the next. And it just happens really extremely fast. But with that comes the editing and why it makes it paced so poorly. I thought the editing in the first half of this movie was all over the place. Sometimes it was taking its time, but it was during moments where I feel like it shouldn't have. And then it was the opposite, where like moments that should have taken its time was like too rushed. And it was just, the editing was quite jarring. It made the experience in that first half kind of uncomfortable. Like, there was things that I was supposed to be feeling, or certain scenes that I was supposed to be feeling, but it just fell super flat and came off really awkward. But pacing aside, editing aside, I mean, those are the biggest criticisms I have for this film, because after that first half, it really, pun intended, kicks into gear. Like, this movie really finds its footing after we establish everything: the character, what the character is going to do, the events, and the supporting characters around him. Once all those are well established and their relationships have already begun, from there, the movie just knows what it is. And Neil Blomkamp, you know, he's the director of District 9. Like, genuinely love that movie. But in here, he really managed to kind of hit my heartstrings a lot more than I thought he was going to, especially considering I didn't know who this main actor was for this film. I didn't even know if he would be able to really lead this movie. I wasn't so, worried about David Harbour or Orlando Bloom, because those are great actors, and I'll talk about them later. But the lead actor in here did such a great job that by the end of the film, when those emotional moments were trying to land, they did 100%. I got choked up in the theater. Some people that I went with even, got tears, and rightfully so. With a sports movie like this, and I'll get more into why I'm calling it a sports movie, but with a sports movie, it's so hard not to root for the underdog and just end up being so happy, and because the underdog triumphs in the end, you're just really happy. It's that feel good type of movie by the end of it. But in it are some of, if not the best racing I've seen. I'm gonna rewatch Ford versus Ferrari soon, but like, it's there. It's neck and neck with Ford versus Ferrari. I will say, in this movie, it does take a more like cinematic, fantastic approach to racing instead of something like as grounded as Ford v Ferrari. And one thing I will say is Neil Blomkamp was really smart to go in that direction, because I think I watched this in an IMAX theater and it greatly benefited all the sound design and the shots that were taken in this movie, specifically during the race scenes. So if you do watch this movie, I would definitely say go watch it in the biggest theater on the biggest screen with the loudest speakers possible, because you really get to feel those engines revving, the parts clashing against each other, the turns, everything. You really do feel it. And the way the races are edited in this film are really good. They're stopped abruptly, but it's not like a change of pace in the race. It's just kind of like a breath of fresh air, which is kind of ironic because you're moving so fast. You kind of need one. And it kind of it sets the vibe. It makes the scene very tense. And I just love what Neil Blomkamp was able to do with the racing scenes here. But two people that I want to talk about is Orlando Bloom and David Harbour. Orlando Bloom is genuinely hilarious in this movie. He plays like a businessman who just wants to be all about the numbers and the most money. And he just says some of the most hilarious shit, and the way he acts is stupid and crazy, but in a great way. It doesn't come off campy. It's just funny. But David Harbour, this is some of, if not the best stuff I've seen from him. I love him in Stranger Things. I even love him in Black Widow, but I've never really gotten to see him kind of take time in a role to tap into. And while I did like the last season of Stranger Things and kind of his subplot, I think in this movie, he takes that fatherly approach that he already kind of plays in Stranger Things. And it's kind of a mentor in this movie, but it's done so well. You really feel the connection and relationship that he builds with our main character, our protagonist, the driver. And I just thoroughly loved him in this film. He was to a T perfect. All the emotional scenes that he was giving off landed. Anything that was funny made me chuckle, made me smile, everything. But the true star of this film is the guy who plays Hyun, or our main protagonist. I think he really, really exceeded my expectations. Now, I didn't have high expectations, but I was kind of curious, and I'd be lying if I was to say that I wasn't going into this film a little worried if someone unknown like this could lead a film, and they do it perfectly. Jaemin Hansu as well plays his father in here, and their dynamic, they have a couple scenes together, but all of them are just so relatable to me specifically. I don't know about you guys, but to me they were very relatable. And at the end, I was genuinely getting really choked up at a specific scene. But I also said I was going to bring up, this is a sports movie. Now, you can call it a video game movie. I'm going to call it a sports movie because while it is called Gran Turismo, which is the game, the simulator, it's not based off of the game. It's actually based off of a real person that played the game, got his shot to go and race, and it's quite accurate, actually, the way it's told. And it's just a great story. Once you understand what's happening, it's automatically compelling. You're captivated because you want to see where this kid ends up and what happens. The stakes are huge, but also it's a personal story. When you get down to our protagonist and his father, or his relationship with the mentor played by David Harbour. But for any sports movie, I'm just going to root a lot for the underdog, like I've said before, and I do with this. I mean, this was way better than I expected, and I'm not trying to be the marketer of this movie, but if you can go get a ticket to this movie, IMAX, something with a big screen, loud noise, go do it. You won't regret it. Trust me. You'll be stuffing popcorn in your face and you'll be grabbing the shit out of your movie theater seat during those races because they are tense. They are high stakes. You feel everything in them. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for my review for this film. I mean, it thoroughly exceeded my expectations, and don't listen to the critics. That rating is beyond insanity. I don't know how that happened. I'm going to give mine soon, but I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of this. Had minor issues with the editing in this film, the pacing, some of the direction in that first half, and by no means is this first half something bad. Like, it's very palatable, and there's some interesting things in that first half, specifically the events that take place for our main protagonist that allow him to move forward on this racing journey. But it's just the second half was so great that it does overshadow that first half. And I'm not going to sit here and act like the first half didn't have some awkward issues that kind of, could have been improved, especially in that post-production. But I can confidently say that with its issues, this is quite possibly one of, if not the biggest surprise this year for me. It thoroughly exceeded my expectations. It was a blast. It got me emotional by the end. The sound design and racing, which is really what I came for, like, absolutely delivered. Some of the, if not the best racing sequences ever put to film. And like, it's kind of crazy. And they do some creative things with inspiration from the games in the races that just allow you to kind of feel the tenseness of these races even more. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It very much exceeded my expectations, and for all these reasons, even with all the problems and criticisms that I had with the film, I'm going to give Gran Turismo a very well-deserved 85%. It's been your boy 𝙎𝙬𝙀. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.